Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between justFake and ArgOs Zenith here on Steps of War. Once again, thanks to Zenith for giving me this replay. This was highly recommended from the Zenith team. So yeah, I just want to say a thank you for them once again. Also, this shoutcast and this replay is sponsored by Raptor. Gonna go ahead and check out their website. I am on the Raptor, community. If you're gonna go ahead and if you just look for my name in the Raptor community, you can go ahead and add me on friends. I'm currently working out some ideas with Raptor on how to better cross promote each other just a little bit more. And once I hear back from them, you guys I know will definitely be interested in any cross promotions that we will be having. justFake spawning as the blue Terran player over here on the bottom left hand side of Steps of War. Meanwhile, ArgOs Zenith spawning as the pink Zerg player over here on the top right hand side. So justFake, Terran versus Zerg here on Steps of War. Steps of War, a pretty small map, very easy to do any sort of rush, but there is a very small choke point up here on either sides of the ramp. And on top of that, because it is a ramp, Terran players are pretty safe hiding behind it and using their Gauss rifles and trying to shoot down any Zerglings that try to push on through. Back over here, we now have a drone moving on in, and that drone going to be able to do some early scouting. So ArgOs Zenith doing some early scouting instead of just trying to do any sort of hatchery attempt. We do in fact have a 14 spawning pool being laid down, so we may have some earlier Zerglings. Really, Zerg players have to be careful of Reapers on this map. Reapers with a bunker really shuts down a lot of the Zerg play until you get Hydralisk or just a unit that has a far enough range to really deal with Reapers and that charge that they're able to throw with that +1 range off of that bunker. Back over here, we now have an SCV coming down. Gonna go ahead and do a little bit more scouting as ArgOs Zenith. Gonna go ahead and set up those overlords all throughout the map, and very nicely done by ArgOs Zenith. Just positioning this drone here to deny this SCV or deny the whole entire tech lab there. There is a Marine being trained in there, so it will not be able to lay down the tech lab just quite yet, but that Marine's gonna pop on out. Most likely tech lab gonna be added. SCV wants to get in that position, make sure that the drone doesn't come back in. And no tech lab. Wow. Gonna go ahead and perhaps place a supply depot. Yeah, so another supply depot being laid down instead, and now going for a double refinery. Double refinery really indicates more of a factory or more of even a starport build. So justFake will be sitting on a large amount of gas for quite some time. Each of these refineries currently getting 3 harvesters, so really ArgOs Zenith only getting 48 gas, only one drone on gas at this stage in the game. Meanwhile, we have justFake sitting with 6 SCVs on gas, so very different strategies coming in. It looks as though ArgOs Zenith doesn't really care as much about getting the metabolic boost. Now using that spawn larva, may try to get a second queen as well, but really unsure of the strategy that justFake is going for. We do see a factory now being laid down, and with the positioning on this barracks, will not be able to add a tech lab for just quite some time. And now those Zerglings going to try to push in a little bit on this front door. Marines will be able to shoot down and pressure those Zerglings back. So once again, nicely done, as we have an overlord sitting over here, and now any type of scouting or any type of dropship that comes out from this base will be pretty easily spotted. The Zerglings, however, still trying to pressure on that front door, as justFake now setting up a barracks, setting up a bunker over here right behind the barracks, and now in comes a factory, and now perhaps we'll see a starport or some other tech building coming in. Taking a look at the production tab, we do have the tier 2 now being upgraded over here for ArgOs Zenith, and now only still getting 1 drone on gas. So this is a strange strategy. Usually tier 2 has more than 1 drone on gas just because of the Hydralisk, the Mutalisk, and the Infestors. All those units take a large amount of gas to really start producing and really start massing. So ArgOs Zenith just might be power droning this whole entire time. I'm not 100% sure what exactly this long-term strategy is now, as justFake setting up a factory and going to be putting a little bit of pressure over here, and now getting double starports. So justFake may be trying to go for double Banshees. I can't imagine him going double Vikings. Yeah, going for double Banshees, and that double Banshee production is going to be a one base Banshee strategy, and that's going to be fairly interesting to see how this is going to work. He should have enough gas to train up 2 Banshees, get that cloaking research, and then at 200 gas every 60 units of time, and the Banshees costing 60 units of time, he will be able to just really just crush those out. But Overseer may come in with a Contaminate, now sitting on 60 energy, and will not be able to get that Contaminate off, as Marines now coming in. Overseer being forced to pull back, and not looking too well there. Overseer down to 15, down to 10 health. And wow, very, very heavy loss there, but we have an evolution chamber now coming in from ArgOs Zenith just because we saw those earlier Banshees. And taking a look at the unit tab, we do have 2 queens, and now 2 more queens being trained up, so very, very nicely done. ArgOs Zenith responding nicely to those Banshees, trying to get extra queens. Queens with transfusion should be able to put a lot of pressure on those Banshees, even if they are cloaked. Overseers are fairly easy to produce for a Zord player. Back over here, no creep tumors yet. Oh, actually 1 creep tumor down over here, so a little bit surprised by that. No creep tumors inside this space just quite yet, as we now have these 2 Banshees coming on out, and now 2 more Banshees coming in, and no cloak research. That is a definite surprise there, but perhaps the Banshees just want to go ahead and just try to put as much pressure as possible. And now those Banshees pushing back, and yeah, ArgOs Zenith responding very well to that double starport. Should be able to just deal with this Banshee harassment fairly easily. We do have 3 queens over here, 1 spore crawler as well on either side, so those Banshees really not going to be able to go anywhere at all. Creep tumor should probably be laid down so that those Banshees are not, or sorry, those queens are not stuck off of creep. And now more Banshees being trained up, and now finally Vikings being trained up. So justFake realizing that mass Banshees is not going to work on this map, as ArgOs Zenith continuing to just macro up a larger and larger army. It's currently sitting on 2 bases, trying to get spawning as many larvae as he can. Once again, using that spawn larva ability and that creep tumor abilities, will be able to get a very, very massive site. Back over here, we have justFake finally moving out with this command center. Should be able to set up a natural expansion fairly easily, as both sides have a fairly small army. justFake sitting at 1250, but this army, even though as large as it is, will not be able to deal all that much damage. Also, double starports, not really that effective at this stage in the game. We do have the armory down for that Thor, but the Thor is really there to counter any Mutalisk, and I do not see there is a Spire, excuse me, a Spire now being trained up, Burrow also being researched, metabolic boost, so now ArgOs Zenith is really macroing it up, trying to build up his base even stronger. We do have one Viking over here, going to go ahead and pressure that Zergling out here, and now this Overlord coming in will be able to get sight, and now be able to see that there is in fact saturation over here at this gold mine. 57 harvesters for ArgOs, 34 for justFake. One Thor here, a couple Banshees, so a Thor Banshee strategy should work out fairly nicely. Those Thors are able to clean up any of those air units and also clean up any heavy ground units, while the Banshees are able to rip through those Zerglings fairly easily. Those Banshees with such a fast rate of attack, 1.25, dealing 24 damage every 1.25 is a very, very fast attack rate. But now we have Mutalisk, Overseers, and Queens once again moving on out, and there are in fact a lot of Queens, currently sitting on 5 Queens. Those Thors should be able to rip through those Banshees or those Queens fairly easily, as long as they start getting those weapon upgrades. Missile turrets now being laid down. justFake realizing that Mutalisk may be in the not so distant future. There is one Viking sitting out here, and oh, that Viking unable to get that last kill off on, or last shot off on that Overlord. And now this SCV will not be able to finish off this missile turret. However, in come those Thors, and Thor's able to put a lot of pressure and pushing back one of those Mutalisks over here. Those Mutalisks going to try to come in and quickly realize that those missile turrets are just way too close. There are 2 missile turrets sitting around this SCV line, so we have those missile turrets going after the reactor, trying to prevent any sort of Hellions coming into play, but that reactor will be able to come in, no problem. Infernal Pre-Igniter already being researched as those Mutalisks back off. justFake sitting on an 1850 army, meanwhile ArgOs Zenith sitting at 925. And still fairly interesting, or fairly curious on how everything's really going to work. ArgOs Zenith now moving out with a lot of creep tumors. We'll be able to move across the map fairly easily. Production, it is just a lot of Mutaling at this stage, but that unit combination is not going to work out against the mass Vikings, mass Banshees, or the Vikings, Banshees, and Thors of justFake. ArgOs Zenith really needs to change up this strategy, and now really fully saturated at both of his expansions, should probably consider taking this high yield mineral location over here, already taking this high ground over here. So ArgOs Zenith already clearing out these destructible rocks, will be able to take that expansion fairly easily, fairly soon. Missile turret or Mutalisk now coming in, Overseers now coming in as well. Overseers, will they be able to contaminate any buildings, try to stop any of those production buildings, and stop producing anything out of that factory? And now getting another on that starport as well. Vikings, however, coming over, will be able to take down that Overseer, but all of these production buildings currently being locked right now, so all those buildings taking an additional 30 units of time, as that's how long Contaminate lasts. Vikings, however, able to get a couple quick kills and taking down those Overseers. Now running off of 3 hatcheries in 4 hatcheries off of 3 bases, ArgOs Zenith should be able to transfer some of those units over very soon. Queens, although they deal significant damage, you got to remember that their talons only deal 4 per attack. Each of these queens are only dealing 2 damage. Back over here, however, Banshees and Zerglings quickly doing a quick surround. However, some Zerglings not coming in. Infernal Creep9 are finishing up and those Banshees are just going to be able to finish cleaning that up. Mutalisk now coming in to join in on this fight. However, Zerglings sitting over here, and things just not looking well for ArgOs Zenith at all. justFake sitting on a fairly large army, 2450 compared to 925. And really just really playing it up right now. We do have roaches now being trained up and now trying to be massed, as well as these destructible rocks nearing almost going to be taken down, as these roaches now scampering on out. Roaches moving fairly quickly as well. Back over here, Mutal is just moving around. So it looks like he's going in from a Mutaling army to a Muta Roach army. Those Hellions are not going to be able to deal any significant damage towards those roaches. And even those Banshees are going to have a little bit of a harder time trying to take down those roaches because of that 1 armor difference. And perhaps he should probably try to get the level 2 armor up, the Carapace upgrades for those roaches. justFake sitting at a 3250, and now it's currently supply locked. However, ArgOs Zenith really is sitting on a larger food count, so should be able to produce a much stronger army very, very quickly. Taking a look over here, I cannot easily keep track of how many larvae are around the map, but really with all that spawn larva and all those queens, should be able to get significant production very, very easily. Now these Banshees and Zerglings now coming in, roaches moving on in as well, and now this may be a very, very hard position for justFake to be in, losing a lot of those lower hit point units, and now SCVs trying to come in, Mutalisk coming in as well, Vikings shooting down all of those Mutalisks, but those roaches doing a great job in finishing off this whole entire fight. There are still a lot of Banshees in the air, and nothing really there to deal with the Banshees. Now Queens coming in to join on this fight, but 1 Queen quickly getting taken down, another Queen gonna get taken down, so those 4 Banshees from early in the game still are just raining those backlash rockets on top of those units and getting significant kills back and forth. However, justFake for some reason not engaging over here, as those Zerglings are going to try to go ahead and take down some of these SCVs, perhaps try to take down this Orbital Command, no weapons upgrade, and now those SCVs trying to come off the line, trying to repair that whole entire Orbital Command. Roaches coming in, and justFake going to lose a lot of Harvesters in this engagement. You can see already down to 33 Harvesters compared to 69, so ArgOs Zenith in a definite advantage. justFake really needs to really move out with this army and deal some damage. Otherwise, he's going to have a very difficult time trying to recover from the massive economic gain that ArgOs Zenith currently has. ArgOs Zenith now transferring all of these drones over here to this high ground expansion at the 3 o'clock position. Mutalisk now flying around, making sure that he does have the economic advantage, and knowing that there is nothing over here at this high yield mineral or over here as well. No time to really lift off onto any of these other locations either. So really, ArgOs Zenith in an economic position to win this game as long as this game goes long, and justFake is not moving out. So really, justFake has the larger army, but really not going to be able to deal all too much with this. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between ArgOs Zenith and justFake here on Steps of War.